Hi friends. There are so many birds around me right now. It is late spring here on Vancouver Island, and wow, it's such an incredible time of year and such an incredible place to be alive, and I'm feeling kind of inspired by all these birds to share with you a teaching that I received from a bird recently. So this bird's teaching has impacted me so greatly, and I really feel, a sense of responsibility to make sure that I am not the only human in our human family to be able to benefit from it. So I'll set the stage a little for you. I was on retreat, and as can happen on retreat, really feeling kind of open-hearted and receptive and awake to my own feelings and also everything that was unfolding all around me. And I am someone who, and I wonder if you might be able to relate to this, but certainly it's been prominent in my life that I have felt this sense that it is my job to help or save or fix the suffering or the difficulties of others. And this can show up really powerfully in my life. And I had become aware, and I was becoming aware in the process of becoming aware that, first of all, this was a false perception, but it was also really sticky and difficult for me to shift out of this pattern because I just felt such an intense desire to help and to care for those I love in particular. So I was on retreat and had just finished a meditation practice. I was feeling particularly open-hearted, and we were practicing in this really beautiful hall at this retreat center, the Art of Living Retreat Center, actually in near Boone, North Carolina, which is an incredible center if you're ever able to visit. And this amazing hall had all of these tiny little windows all along the top of the building. And we had the doors open to kind of let the breeze blow in, because there were about 200 of us who were practicing together on this retreat. And so it was, an amazing environment. My attention was just drawn by this beautiful bird who's come to listen to this teaching by his bird family. It's kind of cool. So I opened my eyes after this really profound, incredible practice, and I saw that a bird had gotten into the hall. So it had presumably flown in through the open door, and it was way up high. This was it's quite an incredible building. So way up high, attempting to kind of tap at and find a way out at all these little windows. Now, I love birds. I love all of nature. So, this is something to understand about me as well. And when I saw this bird, I immediately slipped into this pattern, this tendency of mine, almost like an empathic distress of feeling this intense need to help or to save the bird. So I kind of hurried to the back of the hall, and it was a silent retreat. So I wrote a note to the retreat manager that said, "There's a bird in the hall. How can we help it? Get out." And I went over to the retreat manager and I handed over the note. And all this time, as I was writing the note and finding the retreat manager, I was just watching the bird, and I was seeing it tapping away at the window, and my heart was breaking. By the time I got to the retreat manager, I had tears pouring down my face. And he very kindly read my note and looked at me and said, I'm so sorry, but I don't think there's anything we can do. We just have to wait for the bird to find its way out. And I was unable to accept this very wise, sage advice from the retreat manager at that moment in time. And so, as I tend to do, when I go into this pattern, I started thinking of all these ways, like what could be possible here. I thought of all kinds of pretty, looking back, outrageous ideas. I imagined, would there be a way I could climb, 30 or so feet up into the air? More birds. Oh, look at them all. So beautiful. 30 or so feet up into the air and kindly usher the bird towards the door. And not only am I terrified of heights, but I do have a wish to not, break my neck in the process, so I was able to rule that one out. And then I thought, maybe I could go to the kitchen and find some sort of food, and I could kind of lure, bribe the bird out. And then realized I actually didn't want to cause harm. I didn't know what I could feed it safely, and also that would take so much time. And actually, about a month or so before, I had taken a bird language course, of all things. And I even thought, if you can believe this, maybe I could recall some sound. I could communicate with the bird in such a way that it would find its way out. So you see what I'm saying. I was really caught in this, I need to find a solution and I have to fix this somehow. Well, as it became clear to me that there actually wasn't anything available to me to be able to save the bird, I was totally just immersed in grief and sorrow. And I thought the only thing I could think of is that I could love the bird. And being in retreat, this was even more, felt, more kind of available to me. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to go over by the door. I'm going to put my hand on my heart. I'm going to love this bird for all I'm worth. And love being sort of the universal frequency, or at least so I've heard. Maybe the bird will sense this, will feel it, will get curious. But it was still very outward focused. I was still very much thinking about what could I do for the bird. So I did this. I went over to the door, near the door. I put my hand on my heart. And I just started to focus on sending out love and loving kindness and care to this bird. And soon enough, what I noticed as I was connecting to my breath and I was sending out love is actually I started feeling better. I realized, okay, I'm practicing here, and that it isn't possible, or at least I don't believe it's possible really, to tune in to that desire to love and care for others without feeling that energy coming through and benefiting myself. I realized I'm practicing here. I myself am practicing and caring for myself, and I started to get a little more space around it. And I could see then, interestingly for the first time, oh, here I am in this pattern. I'm in this pattern of feeling like it's my job. I need to do the thing to save or help or fix whatever is unfolding. And I also realized that, okay, this is a false perception, and that actually what I can do in those moments, as I was doing in that moment, was I can practice my own practice. I can really fill my own well of love and compassion. And I can do this sort of in the direction of the freedom that I've been able to find through my meditation practice and through just this, bringing love and compassion to whatever it is that might be present. So I'm realizing this, the tears are coming again as I'm recognizing, wow, and I'm reflecting on how the bird in this moment, in this instance, reminded me so much of not only myself, but so many people I know, my kids, where, really we can find ourselves, I can find myself in these situations where if all I rely on is what I can see intellectually, I can find myself attracted to a lot of what in Buddhism are referred to as false refuges. So I can find myself attracted to these windows that really look like a way out. But what I could recognize in myself and what I could feel in that moment for the bird was that what's really needed in those moments where I feel caught, where I feel kind of trapped inside something and I'm tapping away at all these windows, these apparent exits to freedom that really aren't getting me anywhere, rather than looking around and thinking about it, is to feel. And I wished so much I could speak the language of the bird and encourage it just to feel, because of course, if the bird would have felt, it could have felt the breeze blowing in through the open door. It might have been able to hear those free birds outside and kind of followed those signals to its own way to freedom. But it was caught, in being fixated on these windows, these apparent ways out, these false refuges. And this is something I know so well in myself, and I've seen over and over in a lot of people I really love and care about. So as I came to this realization, I was already really grateful that I was receiving so much, such a powerful teaching from this incredible bird. I was feeling so much better. I recognized that my only role was to do what I was doing, to practice, to love, to feel compassion and care, and to send out kind of that vibration of encouraging that bird to feel. And then I opened my eyes, and this is a very true story. And the bird had flown down. It was on a beam where not far from me now, and it was looking at me, just kind of with its head to the side inquisitively. You might have seen birds do that. And as I looked at it, it flew right past me out the door. So this was a very emotional moment for me. In that moment, I just realized that, oh wow, by practicing my own practice, not only was I caring for myself, not only was I releasing myself from this false perception of it being my job to fix or save, but there was something about that love, that care, that compassion in my own practice that was a frequency, some sort of resonance, that the bird came over to check it out, and it found its own way to freedom. And it was a moment where I realized, I think this is true. This is my belief at this time, that this is true for all of us, whether we are in the role of a teacher or a friend, a parent, a coach, a family member, a passing acquaintance. Truly, all of us have the capacity to find our own way to freedom, and in fact, that's the only way. We have to find our way there. We can't be lured or ushered or bribed, all these ideas that I had about how I was going to help this bird. But instead, what we can do is we can really care deeply for ourselves. If we have a practice, we can practice that practice. We can love and just send compassion to the suffering of these beings, whether it be at ourselves or others that we love so much. And we can trust in their inner wisdom, in their innate goodness, in their ability to kind of sense that frequency. They might come and be curious and notice what's happening with us. They might not. But in any case, it is always possible for people and birds and all other beings to find their own way to freedom, and in fact, that's the only way. And it is in service of our whole collective for us to really learn, for me to really learn that I can best serve the world and I can best help others in the ways that I choose to care for, nourish myself, and in the energy that I send out into my interactions. So I will always be grateful for this profound teaching from the bird. It really shifted things for me in my life. The next time I had a situation, which was like a couple days later, where someone I really cared about was going through something really difficult, and I felt that familiar kind of like urge arising in me to get in there, somehow fix it, change it, do something to help. I realized, okay, here's the moment. This is the moment when I feel this inclination. Instead, I turned to my own practice. I really cared for myself. I sent a ton of love and compassion to my very dear friend. And I was there for them. I was able to hold space. I was able to be present without being caught in my own pattern of needing to save or fix. And that was actually more supportive to them than any other action I could possibly have taken, which they told me, they reflected to me. And this has happened now a number of times since I received this profound teaching. And most of the time, I'm able to sense and feel these familiar inclinings when I am feeling drawn to fall into that pattern again. And not every time, because of course, I'm not perfect. I don't think there's 100% success rate in virtually any kind of growth or evolution that has been possible through realizations like this for me. But it has dramatically shifted my life, the way that I relate to others, and my own general sense of well-being. I am no longer in a state of feeling kind of panicked and hopeless and helpless in the face of challenges of other people that I love. So I wanted to share this teaching with you today, surrounded by all these incredible birds who I hope you have heard singing their encouragement and validation of this teaching from their comrade, from their brother or sister. I'm sending out love and compassion to you and to all those in the world who might be suffering. And I'm really, really grateful for this awareness and the ability to be able to pass on this bird's teaching to you. So take care, my dear friends.